The Nephilim, the dark history of the giants in the Bible, the forgotten mystery of the ancient giants. Imagine a time before the flood, a time when humans did not walk the earth alone, a time when colossal beings, born from the forbidden union between fallen angels and mortal women, ruled civilizations with unimaginable strength, supernatural intelligence, and an insatiable thirst for destruction. These creatures were not mere legends. They were the Nephilim, beings mentioned in the Bible, in apocryphal books, and in ancient texts from lost civilizations. Who were they? Why were they destroyed? And could they in some way still exist? The story of the Nephilim is one of the darkest and most terrifying in the Bible, a tale of fallen angels, corruption, wars, and divine wrath. Prepare yourself, because what you are about to discover may change everything you thought you knew about the ancient world. The birth of the Nephilim, the rebellion in heaven, and the fall of the Watchers. The Bible tells us that in a distant time, some angels disobeyed God. And these were no ordinary angels. They were the Watchers, celestial guardians sent to observe and protect humanity. But something happened. They saw the daughters of men and desired them. In Genesis 614, we find a disturbing passage. There were giants on the earth in those days, and also afterward, when the sons of God came in to the daughters of men, and they bore children to them. Those were the mighty men who were of old, men of renown. The sons of God in this passage are widely interpreted as fallen angels. And what happened next was a disaster for humanity. These angels, led by a being called Semyaza, made a terrible decision. They would take mortal women as wives, and nothing would stop them. They swore oath among themselves, "Let us all bind ourselves by an oath, and all swear upon it together that we will do this thing, so that no one among us may turn back." And so they descended from heaven and corrupted the world. The forbidden offspring, the birth of the Nephilim, the children of this unholy union, were not ordinary. They were born as giants, creatures with superhuman strength, an insatiable hunger, and an endless thirst for war. They were the Nephilim, a word often translated as the fallen ones or the giants. They were not like humans. They were beasts of destruction, towering figures who could shatter stone with their fists and bend metal with their bare hands. They were so powerful that nothing could satisfy them. They devoured the animals, the crops, and eventually even humans themselves. Yes, the Nephilim became cannibals. They imposed their rule over mankind, making mortals worship them as gods. And around them, the world began to sink into darkness. But that was not their only legacy. The fallen angels also taught forbidden knowledge to humanity, the art of sorcery and magic, the forging of weapons for war, the secrets of the stars and divination. Humanity became corrupted, and the Nephilim ruled over the chaos. But God was watching, and he would not allow it to continue for much longer. The wrath of God and the end of the giants, when God saw what was happening to humanity, the corruption, the violence, the despair, he decreed that everything must be wiped away. And the Lord saw that the wickedness of man was great on the earth, and that every imagination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. Genesis 65. So he chose one righteous man to preserve true humanity. That man was Noah, and God commanded him to build an ark for a great flood would come to purify the world. And then the waters came. The Nephilim were drowned. The fallen angels were cast into the abyss, bound in chains in the depths of the earth. And for a time, the world was free of them. But were they truly gone? The Nephilim, after the flood, did they return? The story could have ended there, but it didn't, because in Numbers 13:33, long after the flood, the spies sent by Moses to explore the promised land returned with a terrifying report. And there we saw the giants, the sons of Anak, which come of the giants, and we were in our own sight as grasshoppers, and so we were in their sight. How could this be? If the Nephilim had been destroyed in the flood, how did they appear again? Some theories suggest that a few Nephilim survived. Others claim that the fallen angels returned and created a new generation of giants. Whatever the truth, the Nephilim were not completely erased, and ancient peoples fought against them for centuries. Goliath, the giant defeated by David, may have been one of the last remnants of their bloodline. But were they truly wiped out? Or could it be that some still exist, hidden in the shadows of the world? The legacy of the Nephilim and their influence on the world, even if the Nephilim disappeared physically, their influence was never erased. The forbidden knowledge that their fathers, the fallen angels, brought into the world was never forgotten. Sorcery continued to spread. Cults dedicated to dark forces remained. The desire of some men to become gods still persists today. Many believe that the Nephilim may return one day. And if that day comes, will humanity be ready? Conclusion: the lost history of the giants, the Nephilim, are one of the most mysterious and terrifying stories in the Bible. They were powerful, monstrous, and merciless, creatures who defied divine order and brought the world to the edge of destruction. They were destroyed but never forgotten. They were monsters, unnatural hybrids that had no true place in creation, and that is why God wiped them from existence. The judgment of the Nephilim, why God had to destroy them, many people question. Why did God flood the entire earth? Why did he choose such a drastic measure? The answer is clear. Because the bloodline of humanity was becoming corrupted. If the Nephilim had continued to spread, the entire human race could have been lost. The descendants of Adam, those created in God's image, were on the verge of extinction. And so, God intervened. The flood was not just a punishment, it was a purification, a way to erase the stain of the Nephilim from the earth. God did not create them, and so he would not allow them to remain. The return of the Nephilim, did they truly disappear? Yet, even after the flood, the Nephilim appeared again. How? Some say that a few of them survived, hidden in the mountains or deep underground. Others believe that the fallen angels returned, once again corrupting humanity and creating new giants. Whatever the case, their presence never truly disappeared. The Anakim of Canaan, the Rephaim mentioned in ancient texts, Goliath, the giant slain by David. All of these could be remnants of the Nephilim's cursed bloodline. And that raises an even darker question: are they still among us today? Could they be hiding in the shadows, waiting for the right time to return? The answer is uncertain, but one thing is clear. If they ever return, it will not be by God's will, but by the will of darkness itself. The Nephilim were never gods. Creation, they were a corruption God, in his perfection, never created the Nephilim. He created angels to be his messengers. He created humans to bear his image. He created the natural world to sustain life. But the Nephilim, they were born of rebellion. They were the offspring of sin. They were a perversion of God's divine plan. And that is why they had to be destroyed. Because they were not part of God's creation, they were a corruption of it, a disease that had to be purged. And God, in his justice, ensured that they would never thrive again. The final lesson, a warning to mankind. The story of the Nephilim is not just a tale from ancient times. It is a warning, a reminder of what happens when beings try to play God. The fallen angels tried to create their own version of life, and their failure nearly destroyed the world. Even today, mankind continues to seek power beyond its limits, to alter life in unnatural ways, to challenge the laws of creation, to delve into secrets that should remain hidden. And if we are not careful, we may awaken something that was never meant to return. The Nephilim were erased once, but if humanity repeats the mistakes of the past, they may rise again. And this time, there may be no flood to stop them. May God have mercy on us all.